and it is good to be in the house and to be back with you once again. It's like
Glad to
I was
be
just
in
about
this
to say,
number.
I'm glad to be in the house one more time.
Glad to, yeah, for
It
real.
don't take nothing for it to turn churchy. Okay, I grew up in church my whole life. I have plenty of references. Come on in.
Come
Come on in the
on.
room.
Listen, no, really, I'm not gonna hold you. That is hands down my favorite gospel song. Is
It's
that
iconic.
is that Georgia or Mississippi Mass?
It's one of them.
It's one of the mass choirs,
I
but
don't
baby,
know.
when the
There were
good
several.
when the good sister gets it, she can come on in Jesus is
If you
mine.
don't know what we're talking about, just look, just Google it,
Listen,
YouTube, come on in the
she
room.
said he write all her scriptions,
Scriptions, not
not
prescriptions.
prescription.
Scriptions.
Scriptions.
That's
That's I
right.
want
That's
that
right.
medicine. Hello, my name is Holly Chanel.
Okay, yeah, I want to introduce myself too. I am Melanie Loren, and this is
Dipped with sweet and hot, y'all.
that's just a little taste. Sometimes, like I said before, you guys will catch us mid conversation, and we just decide to
You
bring
know,
you in for some of this foolery.
but look, since we talking about the goodness of the Lord, I'm gonna jump right on into my sweet.
Go ahead,
I don't
testify.
I don't know if y'all are watching this on the YouTube, which you should be liking and subscribing and
Mm-hmm.
watching all the things on all the platforms. We got YouTube, we got Buzzsprout, we got
Mm-hmm. We
uh
got Apple
Apple
Podcasts.
Podcasts,
We got
Spotify,
Spotify.
iHeartRadio. Like we're there.
And
Okay.
what you should be doing is hitting that subscribe button.
You have to subscribe. And
Right.
you can hit the bell because it'll alert you
That's right.
when we got some new stuff
And
coming
it's
out.
automated, so you don't even have to come looking for us. It lets you know, and then we're
Listen.
there, and we're here with you.
Absolutely.
With
So if
you.
you are watching this, you will be witnessing the goodness of the Lord because what is on my ears?
You found it.
No, I didn't. I just got some new silver hoops, y'all.
Oh, okay. Well, praise the Lord for the finances to do so. Okay. Because the silver hoop, listen, you have to
Baby.
go back a couple of episodes. If you don't know, Holly lost one
One.
of the staple workhorse earrings in her earring
And that
wardrobe.
is really losing. Like it would be something if you lost both, but losing one is like the height of festivity.
Yeah, because you have that other one just staring at you and you
It's a
can't do anything
constant
with it.
reminder.
Yeah.
So yeah, my boy asked me to actually funny enough, my homie from last week where
Oh,
that I had to wait for
from Labor Day,
from
the
Labor Day, Labor Day.
audacity.
So listen, he made up for it because he took me to this African shop that had these earrings just calling to me as
Okay.
soon as I walked in. So yes, your girl is
Oh, we
back in
forgive
business.
him.
We forgive him. We forgive him. Love you,
We
baby.
forgive him.
And I hope that you get from in between the vehicles soon.
This whole between vehicles. Look, y'all got to go back and listen to the mini episode last week because I had a whole moment about that
So
in
yeah,
between vehicles.
that's what's sweet about me. So I'm assuming you got something that's grinding your gears. Are you a little spicy today? A little hot,
I
if you
I
will?
am. I have. So last week you clowned me because the stories that I told about audacity in these streets were like stories that I had collected. They were not
Yeah,
my
they were
own
they were not personal.
experience. I have one that is my own experience today
Today?
that I would well, it didn't happen today, but for today's episode,
Okay, fair enough.
I
Fair enough.
have one that is actually my own experience. And I'm just a little ticked off about the level of entitlement
Ooh,
out in these streets. People
okay.
feel so entitled. Specifically, people feel entitled to be able to access you.
Baby.
People feel like they should be able to have whatever kind of access to you that they want to have to you, and it genuinely confuses me because
Extremely so.
especially if we are strangers and we are just meeting. It's one thing if you've been a part of my life for a while. Yes, I would expect you to have some sort of expectation of access to me. We've had an existing relationship. But if I just met you, I don't owe you anything. So let me tell you what happened. So I'm out,
Mhm.
out in these streets. I'm at a day party.
You
See
and
a
your
guy.
day parties.
I
Most
know.
most of your shenanigans are starting to happen in these day
Maybe
parties.
I
You
just stopped going. I
you
don't
might need
know.
to go back to nighttime. I mean, the freaks do come out at night though. But anyway, you were saying day party.
I have plenty of stories from the nighttime as well. Um, but yes, so I'm at this day party. see this guy. Now this day party, we know what it is. You see when you see somebody you like, you talk, you move around. Okay, so I see him. We catch each other's eyes. So I stopped, I was on my way to like the bathroom or the bar or something, but he said something, he complimented me, whatever. We stopped to talk. So long story short, give him my number. He puts my number in his phone and something alerts him. I think it started showing up green, which it doesn't normally do. And so he was just like, "What's up? You got an Android?" Now we'll put the iPhone versus Android debate on the side right now because that's not the point of this, right? But he clearly had feelings when he thought that I had an Android. So he says, "What's up? Like, you got an Android?" And I was like, "No." I said, "That's just my Google number." And so when I said, "That's just my Google number," you should have seen the look that he gave me. And
Mhm.
then he had the audacity to say to me, and I quote, "Oh, you ain't worth the ass you sit on.
What? What?
You ain't worth the ass you sit on." And I said the same thing. What? And then
There's more?
the audacity
But
compounds.
wait, there's
This
more.
is the infomercials are not the only ones. There is more. So then after he says that, and I'm sitting there like, huh? He actually leans back, looks behind me, says, "Yeah, and it's a lot back there. You still ain't worth the ass you sit on."
Well, you know what, Melanie? I know you're hot. I know you're upset, but don't you just love it when people weed themselves out?
It is very efficient.
It is
I
extremely
said,
efficient.
"What you mean? I said, what, like, what you mean? You giving me?" And here's the thing. Here's my point. He's the first one that said something like that to me. The audacity of you to say something that to say that to anyone. Period. You
Right,
ain't worth
right.
the ass you sit. First of all, that's a new one for me. I ain't never heard that. That's a new one. Um,
That is a new one for
but
sure.
secondly, why does it matter? It is I gave you, you wanted a phone number to be able to reach me. I gave you a phone number to be able to communicate with me. Why does it matter? First of all, that it's a Google number. That's something that I started doing years ago as a safety
Oh
precaution.
yeah, for
It's not
sure.
personal, but my point is it could be personal. It still shouldn't matter. When you call it, it rings and I can answer. When you text, I get the text, I can respond. Furthermore, I don't care what number you give me. Give me a Google number. Give me a business number. Give me whatever number you want me to have. I don't have a problem with it. So I don't understand why people have a problem when they feel like it's an insult to them. They feel entitled to my actual phone number. And where they get the audacity to have this entitlement is beyond me.
So if I may, what I think, because he's right. You
About
aren't
what?
you aren't worth the ass that you sit on. You worth a whole hell of a lot more. And he realized that when you gave him a number that did not give him direct access to you, that he was out of your league. And so,
He had a funny
therefore,
way of expressing
oh,
it.
well, because at that point he's embarrassed and intimidated. He thought he had a shot.
But here's the thing. What about that is not a shot? Like that is an open door, my guy. I'm giving
You're
you
too
the phone
hard.
number.
It was you did it wasn't easy
What's hard
enough.
about it?
Because now it's almost like you ever the rushing nesting dolls.
Yes.
So the fact that he approached you and got your number, that was just supposed to crack the whole thing. He's supposed to get to the prize right there. What you did was by giving him the Google voice is that you put another doll, you nested another doll inside of there. So now it took work for him to open the first one, and you gonna give him a second one to open. You ain't worth the ass you sitting on.
Yeah, I don't understand that still. I appreciate the analogy and the effort, but here's the thing. The prize is being able to furthering your analogy, the prize is being able to communicate and have a conversation. There's
No,
no extra layer there.
you made
There's
an
no
assumption
extra
there.
layer.
You made an assumption there. That was not the prize. The
What's the
prize
prize?
to getting them draws.
But again, I did not introduce an extra layer. It's the same phone. It's the same. I guess my point is it's the same phone.
I can't tell you how many dudes have seen the Google number or the spoof number as a challenge. Like, because I used to be a Google number person too until I just started liberally using my block feature.
I
So,
mean, that's the thing.
yeah.
Like, because I started using it because it used to be a lot easier to block somebody via
Yeah.
Google number than it is with your actual phone number. We're gonna go back and forth. I don't understand it. Maybe we need some men. Maybe we need some male opinions.
So here's the thing: we need male opinion, but that's the same kind of audacity that you referenced in our story time week before last. When we left, the audacity for people to ask you why you ain't got kids or you gone or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, strangers will come up to you and ask you this question. The audacity, you're not entitled to that information.
Access. See?
People feel like they should be able to access it. I'm curious to see what some men have to say about this. So I'm going to invite in our guest for this week. Okay, come on in the room, you guys. I need to know.
Welcome back to the podcast.
Yeah, we got okay. So I'm gonna take a pause from being heated about what I'm hot about right now.
No, be hot.
So we can give a warm welcome back to super producer Lewis from seasons 1 and 2 of Dip with Sweet and Hot. He's back, you guys. He's back, and this time he's brought a friend. He has his friend and co-host of the T.A.N.K podcast with him, Mr. Matthew Stewart Jackson.
Listen, these people with these three names: Louis Jacques Jr., Matthew Stewart Jackson. I'm Hollee Chanel. That's it.
And I'm Melanie Loren. And I don't know if those might be a letdown after those names.
Exactly.
But they are here. They are here, and we are happy to have them. So, in addition to being here to tell me that I'm right about being hot about this whole audacity and entitlement issue, they're also here to talk about the audacity to choose to be childless. We alluded to that in our story time at the end of last week's episode. You know, people feel like they can, like you said, Hollee, come up to you. People have judgments about whether or not you have kids. And a lot of time that conversation centers around the female perspective and women's voices. But we've got two gentlemen here who have both made a decision to be childless. And there's so much material there that they have a whole podcast about
whole podcast.
It's reality streets.
And as a treat, this is a 2-part conversation.
Yes.
So, kind of like
all 4 of us are childless.
Listen, all 4 of us are childless. So kind of like a Law and Order episode where it starts on one and then it continues on. So part 1 will be on Dip with Sweet and Hot, and you will be able to hear part 2 on the T.A.N.K podcast next
That's
week.
right. And T.A.N.K, just in case you didn't know, if you didn't know, if you need me to spell it out for you, I will. T.A.N.K is an acronym. It stands for 2 actors, no kids. And Lewis and Matthew are the co-hosts. So we're going to talk about it. We're going to get into it. We got a lot of childlessness here. But before we do that, just go ahead and tell me that he was wrong, I was right, and it don't make no sense for somebody to get mad that I give them a Google number.
Well, of course you were right. Absolutely. And I would like to state for the record, Lewis doesn't even know what a Google number is. I totally just threw my co-host on the bus.
A Google number. I'm good. So I don't need all that.
Lewis
so it's
said
just
he been married and out the market a long time. He don't even need to know.
This is all new information to me.
And not to further the Android iPhone debate, but we're both Android users. So we're like, we saw the green text, we're like, green flag. Like, yeah, no red flags here. So hey.
Holly's iPhone.
I will be very honest and I said this to Hollee. She had an iPhone before I did.
She got that iPhone look.
The reason I have an iPhone to this day is because somebody else bought it for me. Okay.
That's fair. Can't even matter that.
So legit. That's the reason I have an iPhone, because my phone before an iPhone was a Nokia, and my mother got upset that she couldn't call me, so she took me to the Apple store.
Wow. Like, you're gonna get this.
She was like, "You about to get a phone today."
Thank you very much. If you sponsor it, I have no problem.
I feel you.
100%. I'll use an iPhone if somebody else buys it for me.
That's
Yeah.
that's
Okay,
Any
so-
sponsorship deals out there? Anybody? Anybody want to buy iPhones?
we have
Listen.
just dropped a lot of brand names.
We
I'm
did.
telling you, yo.
We did.
That's right.
So, okay, I want to know what made you all center a podcast around this subject.
You know what? I'm gonna let him answer the question because it was kind of his thoughts, and I jumped on board, but I was happy to for good reason. So go ahead, Matt.
That is totally fair. Okay, so the short version is that it was kind of retrofitted to I just had this idea over the holidays last year. I was back home, I went for a run, and I got this idea that was like, it was kind of, I don't know what your religious backgrounds were, but I was on a run, I was praying, and I like no headphones, no music, nothing, and I'm just running, and really had this, it wasn't like a voice from God, but this idea from God saying like, you need to start a podcast with Lewis. And I was like, what? That's random. Okay. I like Lewis. I like podcasts. Okay. So I went home, showered, and texted Lewis. I was like, hey.
Showering is important.
It's very important. I know I was like 3,000 miles away because I was back home in Washington State, but I was like, I got to be clean while talking to this clean man. So I just texted him. I was like, hey, do you want to start a podcast? And he like didn't even hesitate. He was like, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Of course.
I'm with it.
Yeah. And he's like, what about? And I was like, I don't know yet. And then so we met up, and I was like, okay, what are the things we have in common? What do we want to talk about? And at that point, I had started listening to and kind of just being online, not just podcasts, but like forums and message boards and whatever about like being child free. Because my wife and I had basically had this conversation of we are now at a point where we don't want kids. I have always been there. She has not. And she had just, and basically even before we were married, I had said like, listen, you say the word, I'm getting a vasectomy. Like, it's up to you. The ball's in your court.
Literally.
And the ball snap. That's funny. Balls.
Yeah, right.
And so it was kind of like, okay, so it's kind of up to you. When you were, the door was open, the conversation was still open, and I'm like, if my wife got a message from God saying I need to be a mother, I'd be like, all right, I'll entertain that idea. But she was like, nope, I'm 100% now. I do not want kids. I was like, okay, great. Lewis and Denise had already been there. Like they were further along that path than me and my wife were. And so we were having these conversations, and I was on these like online spaces, a lot of podcasts, and they were all women. And I was like, this is great that this exists, and it's because honestly, women bear more of the burden than men do. They get more of the harsh questions, they get more of the judgment, they get more of the overall burden of being child free. And so I got that, but I was like, there are very few male perspectives out here, at least none that I can find. Lewis, how would you feel about starting a podcast?
I'm with it.
And he was like, hundreds, absolutely. Let's do it. Okay, so then we started like plotting out ideas. I'm like, do we have enough to talk about? Like just in this, and then we kind of went into, well, we're not fathers and we're not breadwinners. Our wives make more money than we do. So if you take away fatherhood and you take away, yeah, it's true. If you take away fatherhood and you take away breadwinning, what value do you have as a man in this society? So it's kind of a two-part thing of like being child-free, and we're trying to flip the script on modern masculinity. What does it mean to be a man in today's day and age? And we're trying to, one piece at a time, deconstruct toxic masculinity.
Yeah. Wow, that is very interesting. So it really, I can relate to God dropping ideas on you, because I literally have been doing something as mundane as brushing my teeth, and like all of a sudden, like I gotta spit it out because I gotta run and write something down before I forget, like, because that's when it jumped on me. So I'm so glad you guys leapt with both feet into this. And I did have the pleasure, I took a listen to a couple of your episodes, and you guys are a hoot. I would like to say
never not.
Appreciate that.
Never.
Especially when Lou gets venting. That is my favorite.
Yeah,
I
I
love it. I
mean,
love it when Lou vents.
Lou likes to go on a rant every now and then, and we're all here for it. I
What
think
is this
that
interview about?
Those are my some of my favorite Lewis moments is when like he'd be like, son.
yeah.
Explain something to you.
Y'all are tripping right now.
That is you. That is
Nailed
you,
it.
Lou.
Nailed
That
it.
is definitely you.
Wow.
But I'm
Wow.
curious, like you mentioned the fact that like you feel like women take on, I guess, more of the burden of having to deal with society's expectations about them. Do you feel like your decision to not procreate and to not have children, do you feel like that was an audacious choice? Because I do want to point out that it was something that you both actually chose. It was not something that was chosen for you, and that, like, you cannot,
Infertility or
yeah, like any fertility issues. You both, and I can say this because you have talked about it, you both have chosen and willfully got vasectomies.
I plead the
That is
Yes.
how serious you are about this.
fifth.
And I'm gonna go back to that later, but I want to point out the fact that it was a choice. And I want to know, do you feel that as a man it is an audacious choice? Does it require audacity, do you think, to choose to not have children?
So one of the things that we kind of thought of, and we've actually had an episode about, was the fact that kind of what you all brought up, people can put on their own ideas of what having a child is on you. So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
how could you not have a child? We talked about, and one of the things we would talk about later is you talk about, well, what about your legacy? And this, like, here's the thing about legacy. I am not in heaven going, look at them down there messing up. You know what I'm saying? That's just not gonna happen. Not because there's also, and it's funny that you bring up Audacity, because it's what you, and I love the fact that y'all are talking about Audacity. I think there is a point where people have the audacity to go, well, I'm gonna have kids because who's gonna take care of me when I'm older? Like you think your kids really want, not that they wouldn't, but the fact of
Right.
putting that burden on them, I think,
Having the
is what,
expectation.
yeah, like people expect that. And I don't see it. And from what we've talked about, that wasn't something that was on our minds, right? It was just like, there's a lot of things to avoid, and this world is crazy enough in having
Mm-hmm.
kids. And there was no urge to have a child. Like, I asked a bunch of my friends, like, when was the feeling to have kids? Like, when did you get the urge? And everyone was like, oh, when I was young, or when this and I'm like, that ain't happened to me now one time. Like, I'm around kids, and it's okay, cool. Right after that, it's like, yo, listen, go to your parents. Like, where this is done, this transaction is finished.
I
So
love being
that's
able
kind
to
of where
give
I
them
was on
back.
that.
Mm-hmm. So
So I don't
Lewis,
know how you feel. Yeah.
tell me what. So I have to say this. Lewis and Denise were probably one of my first early examples of a couple who chose not to have children. I grew up city of Chicago, but I'm a people from the South where, first comes love, then comes marriage, then comes
Yes.
Hollee with the baby carriage. Like
Mhm.
Gotcha.
those are the rules, right? And
Yeah.
so I don't know. Denise might remember looking at her, but I was like, Denise, you don't want to have kids? And she was like, girl, no.
Yeah.
And it was weird to me. It was
Mm,
foreign. So I know that you said that you never had the urge, because I'm assuming you have nieces and nephews, right? And you
we have
had
20. We're good.
uh, see
Between me
nieces
and Denise.
but
And now we
question.
got now we're grand uncles and listen, stop all these. There's even kids. Stop all this.
What
Stop
was
this.
what was the conversation like between you and Denise early on in your relationship, discovering that neither one of you wanted to procreate?
So I think one of the conversations that kind of came up was, it wasn't really even a conversation. We talked, and it was like, kids, nah, I'm good. And that was like, we didn't go into a long thing about it. Where it changed was other people. So,
Mm.
and me and Matt talked about this, where it was like other people like, hey, so you having kids? And I was like, nah, me and my wife are good. Did you talk to your wife? And I was like, we've been together for so long. We don't have kids. I would assume that conversation happened at some point. And then I'm in my head going, did I talk to her? So Like, I'm trying to remember our
You
conversation.
started doubting
Like,
yourself.
oh my goodness. And I'm over
Did I
here
make an
like,
assumption?
you know, it's crazy. I literally went home and was like, hey, Denise, like, I was talking to the
Are we good?
guys. So we like the kid thing. She's like, we don't have a kid. I was like, hey, in my head, babe. Like that's how crazy it was. But once again, it's what others think that you should have or what you should be doing. You should be, you're together. Why don't you have kids? Oh, or you be great parents. Listen, I know that already. I ain't got to prove that to nobody. I ain't got to prove I'll be a great parent. I'm a great person. I mean, not to pat myself on the back, but character counts. And I think you're hilarious. But character counts. So I think in that, why would I not bring this on to a child that I potentially would have? You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, you know, people have jerky kids all the time. That's a whole nother story. So.
Yeah. So that's
true.
a whole Lou Vents right there.
Well, Matthew, I mean, so for Lewis, it sounds like you were just very self-aware to realize that this was not a desire that you had ever really had, and you were blessed enough to unite with someone who also did not have the desire.
Sure.
So it was sort of an easy decision to agree that you were not going to have kids. I'm curious, Matthew, like, how did you arrive at your decision about not having children?
Yeah, that is because Lewis, you and I need to do a wives episode where we get our wives on here and
At some point.
discuss this, because we have very different stories. In fact, my wife and I, before we ever got married, we broke up because of this.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah,
It's a big deal. It's a deal breaker for some people.
It is a deal breaker for sure.
And I was sort of the one who called it off because I felt like I was the person who could not give her what she wanted. And I was like, I love you enough that I want to let you go and find somebody who can make you happy. And I don't think I can be that person because I think you really, really want kids. And she did at the time, like she thought that would be a part of her life. And I was very clear that I was like, I do not think I'm called to fatherhood. That is not part of my life. That being said, I also didn't think I was called to marriage. So things change. And so, but we broke up because I was like, it is clear to me that children are very important to you. And everybody has always told her how much of a great mom she would be. And she's very motherly. She's always taking care of people, like in her profession, in her day-to-day life, she's very motherly, and she just kind of saw herself as being a mom someday. And I was like, I don't think I can be that person for you. Let's call this off. And we both mutually came to the decision that, like, gosh, this sucks being apart. And it took me a long time. So we broke up before we were like ever engaged or anything. But we were like seriously dating, and it took me a long time to come around to the fact that I was like, I don't know everything, and I don't know, in fact, I don't know a lot, but what I do know is my life is a lot better with Ella in it. And I will, if things change, I will be a dad if I have to be. And so it is more important for me to be with Ella than it is to not be a father. And so I decided, I took a job down in Florida. I was doing a show down there, and when I accepted that show, it was like an 8-week contract, I think. I was like, I'm using these 8 weeks to decide, am I going to propose? Because I need to crap or get off the pot. And I was like, if fatherhood is in my future, I will face it when it comes. I am very clear that Ella is my person, and I need to marry her. And
she's awesome, by the way.
She is amazing. And actually, it was our anniversary 2 days ago.
Belated anniversary.
You know what? And Lewis, you just had an anniversary recently too, did you? Am I making this up?
June.
Ours was in June. Yeah.
Okay, I know I saw something on the socials. Time is a warp for me. Anyway, happy anniversary to both of you.
To both of you.
Thank you. And so, like, having that, actually it was yesterday. Again, time no circle, whatever. So we just had an anniversary, and it was a reminder that I made the right decision. And
for sure.
And I was like, the door is closed, but it's not locked. You know my opinion. I know what I don't want, and that's to have kids. But if this is something that you absolutely need in your life to feel like a whole human, we will discuss. And then she was like, I'm not 100% sure that I want kids. I'm about 50-50. And we lived in that world. We lived in that space for the first 6 years of our marriage. And then she came around relatively recently and was like, nope, I'm 100% sure I do not want kids. I was like, great. I'm like dialing the phone of the urologist, like all she's saying. I'm booking my vasectomy. Okay, here we go. And and so,
I love
and
it.
so we were in a very different place of what Lewis and Denise were. Where they were both kind of like, no kids, no kids, great. We were like, this was a long, drawn out thing for us, and we eventually got on the same page. But I was never like, no, it's no kids or nothing. It was kind of like, well, I will be like, if God is calling me to fatherhood through you, then that is where I will end up, and I will accept it gracefully. But I just don't believe that that's what it is for me. But I've been wrong so many times before. So what I do know is that I need to marry you. Like that's the only thing I know, and that is what has been revealed to me now. I accept that now, and whatever is to come will come. And it turns out kids weren't a thing for us, so fine. But I was willing to accept that it being married to Ella could come with children, and if that happened, then I would accept it.
It's something to be said about following the will of God, because you know, you thought that the first time out, you thought that you were doing the right thing by letting her go to pursue her family planning goals, right? But then, you know, you listen to that voice, you listen to that idea that said, no, I'm gonna follow the will of God. I'm gonna go get my mate, and whatever comes with that, children included, comes. And then it just so turned out that that was not the plan for you all. So, which leads me to my next question. So, we've discovered that this is not in the kids are not in the cards, but everyone around you hasn't. Do you have like any, you know, one liners or static responses that you give when people are judgmental about your decision to remain childless?
Yeah, I do. You don't pay my bills. It's, it's usually that's usually my retort. Like, you don't pay my
And
bills.
mic drop.
So
Mic drop.
like kids expensive, and we've talked about that a bunch of times. Like people act like having kids is gonna be, I mean, it's great, don't get me wrong. In one of the shows we talked about, we actually talked to this young lady and we talked about agape love, where it's just like you just like, it's one of the things where I'm like, will I ever truly understand that? I might not understand that as a father. I might not understand that as a child because my father wasn't around. But you can't tell me I don't agape love my wife. So like, I'm good. Like, because here's the thing, I don't have to
That's tea.
understand. I don't have to understand what it is. I don't have to understand the love that it is to be a father. You know what I'm saying? Like there's different ideas of love and how you love someone or whatever. I mean, I have great friends that I love. So, you know, you can't sit there and tell me because I don't have a child, I don't understand what that means. So for me, it's like, listen, you don't pay my bills, you ain't all up in it, we're good. And me and Denise, like, we've made our decisions.
Yeah.
So there's nothing you can say to be like, well, you need to think about this. No, I didn't thought it all out. I'm good.
Yeah, for me, I like mine isn't as good as Lewis's, but he's got the mic drop. For me, I always just try to diffuse with humor, and I just deflect, and I just like, oh no, there's one Matthew running around. We can't have another one, and whoa, that's is too many.
Too much.
Yeah, like, you see this? That's too much already.
That's so funny.
I have definitely used that line before. I was like, really? Another Hollee? Are you sure?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, because I think, you know, you do have to have something to say, because that's like part of what we're circling around here is that people have opinions about this. And people, I mean, we've said it, that like they have judgments and they feel like there's something wrong with you, that you have chosen not to do this thing. But I just want to give a little context. So I took a second and looked it up while we were talking right now. And according to my very brief Google search that I'm doing right now, apparently there in 2023, so 2 years ago, 47% of adults under 50 in the United States were childless.
Nice.
Glad to be in that number. Glad to be
It's a
in
movement,
that
people.
number.
No, it
Is
is.
that
It's like
is that in the
it is
US?
a growing, and I would dare say this was, this stat is from 2 years ago. If
Is
we
that in the
took it again,
US?
yes, that's in
40%
the
of the
US.
okay, gotcha.
And
47,
growing.
47% of adults under 50 in the United States in 2023 were childless.
I don't think that's a child issue. I think it's a dating issue. Because listen, the stories I
Well,
done heard that
no, I
y'all
was
done
about to say
said.
not everybody is choosing that. Like,
Yeah,
not
Gotcha.
that's
everybody is
true.
childless by choice. I mean, so we
Yeah.
can get into that. That's why I wanted to highlight the fact that you guys were childless
Yeah.
by choice. This was a
Yeah.
choice that
No, I
you
get that.
but
And
it's obviously not a choice that you are making by yourselves, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So I guess the last question that I have is, there was a very impactful reel that I saw on Instagram by Tracy Ellis Ross, who is sort of famously lifted up as a Black successful woman in Hollywood who is neither married nor is she a mother. So she is childless, and she has been very vocal in some conversations. People have interviewed her where she's shared about this. And one thing that she said that really struck me in this particular reel was that she put a name to the emotions that she feels and the feelings that she has about being childless. And she called it grief. And so she recognized that, like, as successful as she is and as much as she has accomplished in many ways, and her life is so rich with these other kinds of love that you were talking about, Lewis. She has a wealth of that, but there are moments when she still feels grief over the life that she wanted, the life that she wanted to be partnered with someone permanently, and the life that she wanted to be a mother. And there's grief that she has to sit with. And so I'm just curious. I know it was a decision for you, but every now and then, are there ever any grief pangs? Are there ever any moments of like, I know why I chose what I did, but sometimes, you know, dang, maybe just for a second, that would have been nice.
I can't say I have any grief pains. I will say this. I think one thing that's great about Tracy Ellis Ross is that she didn't just have a child with anyone. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of people that are just having kids with people that they don't want to have kids with. And then, the kids ended up getting hurt through all this stuff or whatever. And that's a whole nother topic or whatever. But, it's just important. So at least for me to answer the question, I can't say I've ever gone to any grief moments. I can say this because I said this in a show. And Holly's actually probably heard this story before. So real quick, I was at home and I think I'm getting older. And I'm at home and I'm watching a video of a father throwing a baseball with his son. And I'm at home just like, getting a little misty, like, man, because I'll never get to experience that as a father or as a son because my father wasn't around and I don't have a son. And I'm like, wow, I don't even know what that feeling is. So, I'm like, okay, cool. Denise comes home and I'm like, hey, babe, I was watching this commercial. So now whatever. And she's like, oh, tell me more. And I was like, nah, I'm good. Don't even want to have this conversation because it's not, because one, she wanted to dive into, she wanted to go therapy. That's not what I wanted. But I say that because I don't say that was a grief moment, but it was a moment that made me reflect and go, wow, like what was that? That kind of hit me in a way that's never hit before. Has that happened since? It has not. But it was a moment. So I can't say I had grief moments, but that moment did
But you
happen. So I
had
want to
that
share that.
something
I
was going on
appreciate
in
your
that
honesty.
moment. Yeah.
I appreciate your honesty. Matthew?
Yeah, I will say that I've had grief by proxy. I've never really grieved myself because I've always known I didn't really want to be a father, but I grieve the grief that my wife has had, and she definitely has had that. And if she's hurting, I'm hurting, and that is. But like we've kind of worked ourselves around to it. We're in a good place now, but like it was really hard, and it wasn't my burden to bear, but if I could ease some of it for her, I would. And and just for me to understand that grief is real, and because there's going to be grief either way. Either you will grieve the life that you had before you had your kids and like, oh man, I wish we could go back to being just a couple and we could travel and we could go live our child-free lives. I grieve that life. Or you grieve the child you never had.
Yeah.
And I think either way, it's like whatever your choice is, you need to make peace with it. And so I personally have never felt that kind of grief of like, man, if only I had a son to go play baseball with or whatever. Like it just doesn't hit me that way. And but I do think, because I don't know if it's a weird OCD part of my brain, but Melanie, you asked a question about the audacity to not have children. We never really answered it.
I did.
The like is audacious to have children
or to decide to not have children,
or to decide not to, because I think it depends on how you frame the question.
I see.
Because it like whether you're looking at it from the left angle or the right angle, is it audacious to not have children? Yes, it is. Because I have made this decision with my wife, and like we are bucking the trend. We are bucking the conventional wisdom of first comes love, then comes marriage, then comes Ellen Matthew with the baby carriage. Yeah, we're not going to do that. F you, ha ha. And then it's also audacious to have children.
Yeah.
They didn't ask for this. They didn't want to be born. They never had any agency in this. It's audacious for me to assume it's okay to bring another life into this effed up world, and you're going to deal with the problems that our generation is creating. That's pretty freaking audacious. And I think the only thing that is 100% audacious is for other people to assume choices about my life that like, oh, you're married, you should have children. That's the audacious thing, in my opinion. It's like you're assuming things about my life. That's pretty darn audacious.
Right. And you're also assuming that yours is right. Like if you do have children, yours is right and yours is better. And the audacity, because I know a lot of parents who, if they were really honest, would
But you know what? You know what? That sounds like an excellent segue to part 2 of this discussion.
Yes, we did say at the beginning that there would be a part 2.
We definitely
this
did.
has been a lot about, Matthew and Lou's experience. But there are 2 women here who also don't have children. So Hollee, I said Telly. What I was Hollee tell, and then I just made it one word and said Telly.
Listen,
now those Teletubbies. What is this?
I don't know. And then there's Telly from the Muppets. So.
I was gonna say Hollee.
Y'all are going different
tell
ways.
the people about part 2 and what we can do with that. I'm gonna stop. You go.
So part 2 of this discussion, Melanie and I will be guests on the T.A.N.K podcast, and we're gonna talk more about this subject. And to that end, because we have been talking about childlessness, and Melanie gave her story time about just the audacity for people to pass judgment on her decision not to, or her not having any children at this current moment in time. And so for my story time, I told my mother to cut the BS and admit that rearing children was the worst thing she ever did in her life.
Ooh.
And with that,
my name
to be continued.
To be continued. Listen, what's your name? What's your name, girl?
My name is Hollee Chanel.
And I'm Melanie Loren. And this has
been Dipped with Sweet and Hot.
Y'all got to tune in for part 2 on T.A.N.K 2 Actors, No Kids.
Thank y'all.